Well, good morning, yogis, and welcome to our mobility and flow class. And my name is Mike. So, mobility with Mike, a little flow. Last time when we had this class, I don't think we had a lot of flow. So, we'll see if we can maybe get a little more flow. But we'll start with mobility. We'll start with warming up and start with a little welcome and a namaste. And let's begin from there. Let's begin with the hips a little bit. So, I'm going to start by coming into my Dandasana, my staff pose. So I'm going to extend my legs out and see if I can't just do a little bit with the ankles there. I'm just doing a little bit of flexing and stretching just to get the ankles a little bit warm it up. Roll them around, maybe lift it up a bit. Lean back a little if you want to take it easy here in the beginning, or if you're ready to start to warm up that core, you stay with the hands up, keeping that back lifting up, that heart opening up, or take it easy, either way. And now let's come a bit into the hips. So I'm going to bring my one leg up, my right leg up, and I'm going to turn on the side. And I'm just going to do a little bit of rotation. I'm going to start with just focusing mostly on the external rotation. I'm going to open it up, and then I'm going to close it. So I'm going to do a few of these on one side, and then I'm going to switch. And I'm just kind of leaning back and actually giving the wrists a little bit of a warm up here. Starting to put a little bit of pressure on the wrists. I'm going to switch sides. And just let it open up a bit. And then you get a little external rotation. Or a little internal, I'm sorry, when you come back, you do a little bit, you're kind of restricted there, so you can't do too much. And then from here, let's add in a little bit of that internal rotation. So let's come into our hip switches or our shin boxes. So what we do here is we come out a little bit wider with the feet. So it's like you're in a butterfly, but your feet aren't together, they're out a bit. So hips start a bit open, and then we start to rotate one hip internally and you switch it around, and you try to move your foot around a bit. It's called the shin box because you're trying to create like a little box, like a little square with your shins. I've got my knee right by my heel there, and I'm trying to keep that back ankle right down to the ground. It's hard to see in my camera. And then I'm going to switch, and if you know this pattern, you go at your own pace. I'm going to go slow, but hopefully you're not on a surface that's too hard on your ankles. And you switch, and I'm taking it really easy here in the beginning. I'm leaning back, all right? When you lean back, it's a lot gentler through the hip space. I'm just starting to get them warmed up here with that movement back and forth. It should feel good. If your hips allow it, and if you'd like to work a little bit more, then you try not to lean back too much. You try to keep your heart forward, and you have to work a bit. Most of us will have to work a bit. You can bring your hands up, and you can do a little more work in your hips, but hey, it's just a warm-up. And then from here, let's add a little bit to that back glute. So as I come to one side, I'm going to come forward a bit. I really feel it in that lead leg. So we're kind of doing a little bit of a pigeon, a really modified light pigeon, you could say. And then I'm going to switch sides. I'm going to work into that lead legs glute a bit. So I'm just kind of going a little low and do a little lateral movement, a little side to side, working into that both sides. And then I'm going to come to this side. All right, I'm going to come back to the middle. And now let's come into the core a bit. So we're going to lay on our backs. And I'll go sideways so you can see me better. We'll lay on our backs. We'll turtle up, all right? We'll turtle up. So in other words, we come up into a little ball. And then we just roll a little bit side to side. You could let your head stay in the ground if you'd like. Or you lift it. And then let's all come to the middle now. And now let's let's warm up this core space a bit. So I've got my head off the ground, I've got my hands cradling my head, and I'm just gonna extend the one leg up, and I'm gonna do a little bit of bending and moving around with that leg, bending of the knee. So bending and unbending, would you say, just to straightening. I'm just gonna work in the hamstring a bit, roll through that ankle a bit, switch sides when you're ready. So just working a little bit in the knee joint, working the hamstring, and then we kick both legs up. Nice. Point and flex the toes a few times. And then let's come down and let's continue with the hips, but add in the core. So now let's do a few of our infinity circles, letting one knee start to fall down, one knee lifts up, and then you circle them around. And I'm getting the core involved by really keeping my belly engaged, keeping my back. If you want to test it, you try to slide your hand right under your back there. It won't be able to get anywhere. So hopefully you're keeping the back pressed into the mat. And now reverse your circles, go the other way. And you can stay open a few moments and go back and forth. That feels okay in the hips. And then let's come back down. I'm going to bring my head back down now to the mat, and I'm going to bring my knees to a 90. So I'm going to really target all of my focus now on my belly for the warm up, for the toe taps. So one toe comes down and I tap, and then I go to the other side. And I'm going to try to keep my head and shoulders on the ground. A lot of times if you lift the head, it might be a little bit easier because you start to come into that crunch position. You can do that. Or if you want to challenge it, keep your back right on the ground. And you have to be a little more focused to keep the back from arching. And I like to keep my hands right on my belly, so I'm really reminding myself that's what's doing the work here. And don't forget to breathe, right? Keep the breath. I haven't even really cued our breathing yet, so just find a nice smooth breath, right? A nice calm breath. Let's hug it back in and roll it out a bit. And while we're here, why don't we do a few of our bridges, right? And warm up the glutes. So I'm going to bring the feet to the bridge position. They're about hips distance apart. I'm walking them back in just a bit. I'm reaching back, so I'm touching my heels. And then in the morning, for me, I love the London bridges. So I'm bringing the bridge up at first. I'm kind of establishing my connection with my shoulder girdle, right? My shoulder space is what's mostly supporting me, not the much to the neck at all. And open that heart up a bit. Firing the glutes a bit here. I want to target the glutes so I can warm them up. And then I'm going to start to lower the bridge, coming down to the ground, and then I raise it back up. And I'm doing it just one section of my spine at a time, slowly lifting it, coming up, and then slowly lowering it. And even getting a little pelvic tilt at the bottom if you want to do that. So you feel that in your low back when you come down. And it's like that wave that comes down, and then you do that little tilt, and then you go the other way. Comes back up. That little tilt at the bottom starts to get into the low back a bit. We'll warm that low back up some more. So just a gentle one. And then let's come up and stay up a few breaths in the bridge. This time I'm going to try to clasp my hands together under my hips, keeping the arms straight. And I'm going to turn the shoulders down one at a time to get up a little bit more. And I'm really going to press the arms a bit into the ground. And then I'm going to lower it, all right? You release your bridge when you're ready. You come back down, hug it in. Take a moment, a little counter pose. After the back bend, so bringing the forehead right up towards your knees. You're curving through your back. And then I'm going to slowly come down. How about a little bit more while we're on the ground here for these hips? This is a nice movement I like. It's a big leg sweep. So I'm laying all the way down on the ground now. Let's take a moment. We can settle a moment or two. We haven't laid down yet at all this morning in our class. So let's just take a moment and enjoy that. Arms are out. I'm going to be big, spread out. Hopefully you've got some space around you, or you work the best you can in the space you're in. So I'm out with those arms in my spread out, and then I'm going to do the leg sweep. I'm going to lift my one leg up, my right leg, and then I start to sweep it over. So if you have limited space, you're going to bend your knee. If you can, you're going to straighten that leg all the way out. And then you're going to come back, and you're going to the other side. And on this side, I got a little limited space, so I'm just going to go careful. I'm going to come back. And each time you come, you may get a little bit further, maybe. And you're keeping you're controlling the sweep of the leg with your core. So as I lift the leg up and then I start to sweep it close to the ground, I pull my belly and right when I get to the edge, some of you may even be able to grab your toe and pause a moment and get into the hamstring. I don't know about that. And then the other side. Let's do a couple more times. If you like that, if you like to hold it and you can, feel free to do that. You can get a little twist there. Or usually I like to just kind of go, I keep it moving back and forth. Either way, I'll do one more each side. Just remember to keep that belly pulling in as you kick the leg. It keeps that low back safe too. All right, let's come back into the middle. And now, from here, yogis, let's roll up. So I'm going to hug it in. If you've got, hopefully your space, your floor isn't too hard, and that feels okay. And you can do a couple of those if you like. And then you come up, and then we come around. We come into our tabletop. So let's reposition ourselves. And I'll face you yogis for a few. So for your tabletops, hands are right under the shoulders there, knees are under the hips. And let's just start with a real gentle circling around. Give the hips and the shoulders a little extra. Give them a little freedom to move a bit around. So I'm kind of circling around, and I'm also giving my wrists just a little bit of pressure. Especially when you start to bring yourself forward and your shoulders start to come a little bit out. You start to put a little more strain on the wrist. You can press your fingertips a bit in the mat when you do that. Let's circle it the other way. So you press your fingertips in the mat so your weight shifts a little bit out of the wrist, or maybe it distributes itself a little bit more evenly. All right, let's come back and let's take a moment, come off the wrists. Early in the morning, so wrists need a little more time to warm up sometimes for some of us. So just doing a little bit of open chain warm up is nice, just circling around. And then coming back, maybe a few fists there, fists. And the opposite side of the wrist, you can do that. You can press down the mat and then try to see. Some of you can get your back of your hand all the way into the ground. Not these wrists. These wrists have been broken a few times, so they're still working on getting their mobility back after many years. All right, let's come back to that tabletop, all right? And now let's come a little bit into the back. So let's come back to the low back. So I'm going to start to do that little hip movement. I'm just doing a little rolling through the low back, circling it around, maybe even getting a crack or two. And then you're going to start to smoothly take that little movement and work it right up your spine. So do your spirals. You're trying to do a spiral. I don't know if it's going to be a perfect spiral or a corkscrew. And work a little bit, try to exaggerate a bit into the shoulders. I don't get much in my neck here. There's a lot to try to do all that, but do what you can. And if you try to flip it around, reverse your pattern. And then let's come now to our breath. Let's pay a little more attention to the breathing with our cat-cows. So with the cow pose, you're inhaling, the belly's dropping. You may feel that in your low back just a bit. And then when you're exhaling, you're arching in your cat pose. You're breathing in, and maybe you can draw the shoulder blades a little bit together. And then when you exhale, you spread the shoulders out a bit. We breathe in, you can look up, and we breathe out. Breathe down. We breathe in, we breathe out. And let's come back to the center there. Take a moment or two. Let's come back up on our knees for a moment. Give the wrists a moment to shake out. Let's just do a little bit here for the hips and the hamstrings while we're here, right? So I'm going to step my right foot up, opened up a little bit here. I'm going to drop down right into that hip space and that groin. Both sides get a little bit there. And then I'm going to come into that hamstring, that lead leg. It's my right leg, so I'm going to come back. And I'm just sitting back a bit, kind of reaching my hips back to work in that hamstring. And then I come forward, work a little bit in the hip. You can move the knee a little back and forth to come into the ankle. Work it around, come back into the hamstring. And I'm trying not to curve a lot. I'm just bringing my hips back, but keeping my heart open a bit. And then we'll do it one more time. And hopefully that knee that's supporting you is it's not on something that's too hard. If you're in just a wood floor with a little mat, you can always double up your mat to give yourself a little more cushion. I've got 2 mats on mine. All right, let's switch sides. Let's come to the left side. And drop it into that hip. Some of you can go a little lower and start to come into a bit of a lizard there. Work it around. And then when you're ready, you come back. And I'm not going to these deep stretches. This is just a warm-up. I'm keeping some movement involved here. So I'm continuing to move a bit. A little dynamic warm-up. Coming back. And then in our flow, we'll start to come back into some of these movements. So it's nice to kind of get a touch of them in the warm-up. And then when you come back to them, you're a little more ready. So let's come back, and now let's come into a bit of more of something we could find in a flow, into that low lunge. Now you could keep the knee down. If you're not ready to lift it, you keep the knee down. If you're ready, you lift it up. And how about we add in that world's greatest stretch? They call this, it's just really what we would call it in yoga is just a little lunge, I guess you call that, and then a little twist. We call that the firefly twist, right? You reach up, and it's the beginning, so don't go too big. You come down. I'm trying to do is bring my right elbow down towards my ankle, so I'm working, and my knees open up, so there's space for me to get down there. And then I'm going to come up, and when I reach up, I'm pressing my right foot a bit into the ground. And one more time, I'm going to drop it low into there. And then I'm going to come up. Okay, I'm going to switch sides. Take a moment or two if you need it. The wrists again, rolling them out. And then I'm going to come to the other side. I'm going to step left foot up. So I'm in that big open lunge. So I'm on the inside, right? Runner's lunge. Hand on the inside. Remember, the back knee could come down. You can do that. You can keep it down, or if you can, you lift it. And then see if you can drop it so your shoulder's kind of inside your knee there. And you're feeling that through the hamstring there and the hip. And when you come up, press your left foot down in the ground a bit so you don't want to shift all the weight. I'm going to come down. You don't want to shift all the weight in the right shoulder. Distribute it evenly as best you can. And coming down. All right, let's come back. Back to our heroes pose. And while we're here, I'll come to the back. Can we get the knees a little more warmed up here with the knees? I'm going to come back, put a little pressure on them. Some of you, this is no problem. Some of us were being very mindful with that, not putting too much pressure. So you can use your hands to kind of gauge the amount of pressure you want to put. If they're ready, you can go much lower. and come off that. Come down. And I'm also working a bit in the ankles here too, because I'm sitting back on those ankles. Maybe we can sit all the way down a few moments and do that little back and forth. So I'm just kind of sitting in my heels, and I'm just kind of doing a little side to side and rolling a bit across the top of the ankles. So you can take the pressure off a little bit by bringing your hands down and you shift your weight forward, or you add a little of that pressure by sitting back. And then now let's come back up. Now let's come into our down dogs. So we come into our tabletops first. Give those ankles a moment or two. I'm going to turn the toes under. I'm going to press the heels back. So I'm pressing the heels back, toes down, and opening up the soles of the feet just a bit. Fingers a little bit spread out, and then you lift up when you're ready, and you walk your dog a bit, and work a bit into the shoulders there if you can, by doing a little rotation of your arms. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but you can just probably see it in yourself. I'm kind of opening the, I guess what you'd say, rotating the arms so the eyes and the elbows come in a little bit, the elbows stick out, and then I rotate them so the eyes and the elbows come forward a little bit. The arms really straighten when I do that. And I'm trying to feel that in the shoulders too. And I want to end up with the eyes and the elbows more forward, more opening. And then let that head hang and breathe. And then slowly let's walk the hands back. All right, I'm going to walk the hands back. To me, much easier to start that way than stepping forward. And as I walk the hands back, I'm shifting my weight a little forward. So I want to take a few breaths back here, hanging forward. Soft bend, right? Knees bent a bit. Soft fold. Belly and those thighs. Hands can be right on the elbows here, and you sway it. And you breathe. And then when you're ready, you're going to slowly come up to standing. I'm going to shift my angle a bit so you can see me a little more as you start to come up when you're ready. And you come up and you stretch up when you get there. And I will join you. So I'm going to come all the way up, and we're going to breathe in, stretch up, and when you exhale, how about the side? Get a little side stretch. I'm going to breathe in the middle, and when you exhale, a little side stretch. And come back. How about a little tiny back bend? Breathe in, open the heart up, and when you exhale, and the hands come down. Taking a moment here. Now I'm going to go out a little bit wider with those legs, and I'm going to breathe in again. And then as I exhale, I'm going to go a little bit around. Right? I'm going to go one side and come all the way to the other side. And then I'm going to breathe in. And as I breathe out, I'm going to go to the other side. So I'm going to do a few of those here. And you may have to shift your feet around. You may have to shift the spacing between your legs so it feels good. So a few of these circles. And as you come down one side, you're kind of reaching your hip back. So I'm getting a little bit more into one hamstring, and then I kind of shift it to the other side. And I'm trying not to bend my back too much. So you may not be able to go too low if you want to keep that spine a little longer. But it's okay if it feels better just to ragdoll a bit as you come down. You can do that and work around. And don't get light-headed, so keep your movements slow enough because you're starting to get a little warmed up with going down and coming back up and letting the blood pressure and the breath adjust. All right, let's come back here to the middle. And let's work a little bit more into these hamstrings. So from that slightly wide-legged position, I'm going to do just a few lowerings, and I'm going to squeeze the glutes and lift. So I'm going to really work in the glutes a bit. I'll go sides so you can see that. So I'm going to bring the hips back, keep the back straight, come up. And I'm trying not to bend the knees, so you don't have to go too low. But I really want to fire up the glutes and come up. And then just to add a little bit, let's bring the arms out. Feet are a little bit pigeon-toed, but it's coming from the hips. The hips are just a tiny bit internally rotated when you do that. And then the arms can come out. You can breathe in, open up, exhale. Come down. Breathe in, open up. Exhale. Right, can we stay low for a moment, right? Work a little bit in the shoulders. So I'm going to bring the arms out, all right? And I'm feeling that my hamstrings, my glutes are firing, my quads are engaged. And now for the shoulders, I'm going to turn my thumbs up and I'm just going to do a little pulsing, a gentle pulse, opening them up. And really trying to keep the legs nice and steady, keep the glutes engaged, and just try to open up a bit. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. And let's come back up. And dip the legs in the back a moment there. Shake them around, kick them around a little bit. Pull their shoulders around a bit. How about a little bit more for the shoulders? Before we start getting into chaturangas and things, let's wake them up a bit more. So how about we do a few shoulder rolls around and coming into the back a bit. You do that. And then rolling them the other way. Shaking back out. And then bringing the feet just a bit wider. And practicing a few of those chaturanga movements. So nice to practice it right here in the air. The hands are up a bit, right? Not too low. The elbows are tucked in a bit. And I'm going to slowly press out, right? And as I do that, I protract the shoulder blades a bit, and I'm going to come back in. Heart's out, right? And the belly's a little bit braced, tight belly. Come back, glutes are fired. And notice, if you can see me, notice my elbows, I'm not letting them flare out. I'm not doing this. So if you start doing your chaturangas, you start doing your push-ups, if you will, and your elbows are going like that, it's good for the shoulder. Keep them closer. There's better integrity there for that joint. Coming down. And even if you modify when you're doing your chaturangas, if you're in your knees, you're still trying to keep that part of your spine there, that nice and long and open. We're not trying to curve through that. All right, let's come back. Shake it out a bit. And now from here, let's end our little mobility warm up here with a little more glute work and hips. So I'm going to do just a few of these side kicks. Nice here to wake up the balance too with this. So if your balance isn't ready, go against a wall. Just a light touch is all you need. And I'm going to flex that foot. I'm going to kick it up. I'm trying to really target this is my left leg, my left glute. I'm not going to go too high necessarily. And my right leg gets a little work too, just to keep my balance. And how about we do this side for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, and then we switch sides. Take a moment if you need it. I'm going to try not to lean too far over to counter it. I'm going to try to stay pretty vertical, but do what you need to do. Now really try to target, this is your right leg. Just doing your other leg, try to target that glute. You can flex the foot a bit that helps you get into that glute space. Working the outside of the hip there as well. And do it for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, take a moment. How about a little bit more for the legs while we're here? So how about a few of our position 1, first position from your ballet days. So your heels are together, your feet are opened up a bit. And remember, the glutes are puckered in. So you're keeping the glutes engaged, and you're kind of pressing, you're imagining you're drawing your thighs together. So legs are very active here. Heart's open, beautiful posture. And breathing in, breathing out. And we'll add in the arms and we'll lift up, we'll breathe in. And when you breathe out, if you want to, the hands can come right down the center, or you let them sweep back out. You breathe in. And you breathe out. You breathe in. And you breathe out. You breathe in, keep those glutes engaged. Keep drawing the legs towards each other, right? Keep those legs active. One more time, you breathe in. We breathe out. And you release the tension from the legs. You release the glutes. And you go a little bit wider. We come into our plie stance. So we can work a few of our squats to get these legs a little more ready. So when I'm here, I've got my feet opened up a bit. Hips opened up a bit. Knees tracking with the toes. And before we go low, can we do just a couple back and forths? This is nice for the ankles and the calves. Ooh, and in the hips, you can get a few pops. So when I go down, I'm going to kind of working to one side. And the knee that's bending, I'm getting a little bit of warm up in there. I'm getting a little bit of compression, I guess. I'm moving a bit. That leg that you're leaning forward over, I'm moving the knee a little back and forth so I can work down to the ankle space. And get the bottom of the foot more awake. And then let's see if we can get a little bit lower now. Hips opened up, trying to keep that heart opened up. And maybe we can get a little bit, I can see myself so I can kind of track it and try to get down to almost parallel to the ground. But you know, it's okay, give me a little higher up. And then just a couple times or more, we breathe in. And when you exhale, you come down. You breathe in. Now if you want to challenge it, when you come up on your tippy toes. You come down, you may have to change the position. Breathe in. And breathe out. About 3 more times. We'll breathe in. We'll breathe out. You breathe in. We breathe out. Last time we breathe in. We breathe out. And this last time, you can toe heel the feet back in and make your way back up. This standing, come up slow. You can ragdoll your way up. And come up, yogis. Shake it around. We come into our flow, right? Hopefully these bodies now feel a little bit more open, a little bit more energized. So I'm going to come up to the top of my mat. I'm going to take a few moments and come to my breath through my mountain pose, my Tadasana. So bringing the feet together. I'll just face you. Let the arms just come to the side. Legs can be a bit active here, right? So the quads can be lightly engaged. The glutes can be as well. Shoulders opening up just a bit. I guess really the thoracic area, your spine, you're opening just a tad. And you're breathing. Deep breaths, beautiful breaths. Let's begin to move a little bit. Let's find a couple sun salutations here. Breathe in, reach up. And as you breathe out, you fold down. You bend the knees a bit if you need to. Half flat back. You inhale, come up halfway, flatten your back out. And as you exhale, you plant the hands, step it back. I take a moment or two this first time. I want to lower the hips just a bit so I get a nice tight line, nice plank pose there. I want to draw the shoulder blades out just a tiny bit, just to activate. I want to bring the eyes, the elbows a bit towards the front. Tiny rotation there. Remember, when you lower, you want to keep the elbows tight. Remember, we warmed up this movement. So come on your knees if you want to modify, or if you're ready, coming down. Ooh, maybe you're hovering about halfway, elbows at about 90 degrees, and then you're inhaling and sweeping up dog. Or if you went all the way to the ground, a little cobra. And then as you exhale, you come, just kind of roll across your feet to your down dog. Or if you're on the mat, next time I should have done the modified first. But next time I'll do the modified and I'll come on my knees. Now just take a few breaths here. Some of us, we walk the feet a little bit closer and you just let the head hang and you breathe as you reach the hips up and up and back. So you're trying to lengthen to the spine when you're doing that. You're trying to keep the back of the legs nice and open and long. Let's say the heels maybe a little bit off the ground. You do what you can. And now let's look up, and now let's try to step up instead of bringing the hands back. I'm going to start with my left foot. I'm going to step it up, and then my right foot follows. And then we inhale halfway up. We exhale, fold. We inhale and rise to the top. And as you exhale, let's let the hands come to the heart a moment. Take a moment, let the blood pressure adjust. Second one, we breathe in. And as you exhale, you fold down. Maybe the legs are a little bit straighter. As you exhale, half flat back, come up halfway, extend out. And as you exhale, the hands plant. We step back to that plank. Take a moment, plug it in. This time I'll do the easier version. If you want to, the knees come down, but they're not too close, so they're a little bit farther back that I can keep a nice long line in my spine. And then as you lower it, you come all the way down. And then from here, for the cobra, you just lift the heart up. And I'm not pressing into the mat. I'm lifting the heart up for my cobra. Then as I come down, I'm going to use my knees, press up, and then I'm going to lift up. So there's your modification. And then you step in the feet a bit and you breathe. And this time, maybe we add a little twist to it. If you want to, bring in the feet a little bit wider for the twist. And then what I do is I bring my right hand back. That can be tricky for some of us to take that hand off the mat and reach back and grab your calf. And you're trying to kind of pull in a little bit and look up under your arm. And you come back, and then we'll do the other side. If you did that, you reach back. And then we'll come back to the center. And now we're going to step the right foot up. And we try to step it all the way up. And then when you shift it, you kind of slowly float that foot. And then you breathe in, halfway up. And as you exhale, you fold back down. You breathe in all the way, you rise up, reach up, open up. And when you exhale, let's take another moment, hands on the heart. Now we'll start to add in, all right, let's start to add in some of our poses. We breathe in. And as you breathe out, you release down. You inhale all the way up. And as you exhale, those hands plant, you step back. And all in one breath, if you can, you lower. When you breathe in, you sweep up. And as you exhale, one way or another, you come to your down dog. You can just roll across the feet. You step it up a minute, you take a breath. All right, let's start it with the right side. All right, start with a nice lunge. That movement we warmed up. So I'm going to inhale my right leg up, and I'm going to open the hip of it to start. All right, so that means you're kind of letting that foot dangle behind you a bit to get that hip open and try to press the right hand into the mat a bit. Try to stretch a little to the right side of the body and that right hip. And then I'm going to lower that head back, and this time I'm going to step it all the way up between the hands. And it didn't make it, maybe help it a little bit. Now let's see if we can't just come up just a bit here to begin. You can even take a moment if you need to rest in your leading quad there for your balance. If the balance isn't ready, go wider with your base. That will help. All right, let's establish that long line, that open heart. So that the shoulder blades are even drawn back a bit, reaching out, and then I'm going to slowly come to my crescent. All right, so try not to lift the hips too much. Just try to keep that lead leg, that front leg pressing, engaged. Come up, and the arms sweep up. And you're breathing in. Your back, the leg, you're trying to keep it long if that feels okay in your back. But if the back doesn't like that, bend your knee. If you want a little gentler one, you can even bring your knee down to the ground. And then breathe, yogis, into your belly. And out. You breathe in. And out. And then let's come back down just a bit. Reestablish that line. Let's come back to those rotations that we started with in the beginning. I'm going to start you with the external rotation. So I'm going to come into that low runner's lunge. So my hands are, I'll face you. My hands are on the inside of that lead leg. There we go. I'm working into that hip a bit. And now the external rotation, I reach My left arm, my outside arm reaches up. And I'm trying to open up a bit to that right hip. Kind of bringing the knee out towards the pinky toe. I'm looking down as I do this for my balance, but some of you can look up. I can try that. I'm going to release that opening. I'm going to twist it now the other way. So the left hand comes down. And remember, for your twist, the front leg is engaged, so the weight's distributed evenly to the leg and the arm. Breathe in. Beautiful twist. Come back down, hands right there on the inside. And now let's bring that foot back. And now reestablish your hands right on the shoulders and then lower all the way to the ground or hover and chaturanga. Breathe in, sweep up. And as you exhale, you just roll it across the feet. Take a breath. We come to our left side. As you're ready, the left leg's going to lift. And you're going to open that left hip. Try to keep the right leg strong and straight. So I'm kind of pressing down my foot, grounding with my right to open up through my left a bit. And then when you're ready, you drop the hip back in place. And you step that left foot up and you give it a moment or two. You may need to give your breath a moment or two. There it is, breathing. I'm going to shift my angles again. And then I'm going to come up just a bit and establish that line. So I'm trying to get a nice line. I can cheat because I can look at the screen and I can see how my line looks. Because sometimes I'm a little bit off. So I'm getting a nice long line from the back of the heel all the way to the crown of the head. And then as you come to crescent, try not to come up too quick. Try not to lift the hips too much. And bring those arms up. I'm always keeping my arms out wide because my shoulders are tighter. So some of you can bring your hands together in the middle, but still keep the shoulders open. So you can play with that. The more the modified version that you see most for a lot of us is you've got the arms out wide and the shoulders can be nice and open. The shoulder blades can be even a little bit active back there. Well, now let's come back. And I'm going to reach out and I'm going to come in those rotations. So I'm going to come low into that runner's lunge. You may have to adjust that lead foot, open it up, give yourself some room. I'm going to start with the external rotation. So my outside arm, that's my right arm, reach, sweeps up. I'm going to look down at first. I'm going to look down and I'm going to try to, it's almost like you're pressing away from the floor with your left hand rather than dumping the weight in forward. You're lifting up. And now for the twist, the right hand comes down. See if that helps you. It's like you don't want to dump all your weight. You don't want to be crashing into the floor with that right hand. You want to be coming away from the floor. And then release the twist. I'm going to step it back to the plank. And you can skip, you can skip your chaturangas if you want and just go right to your down dog. Or you go all the way through it. You take a breath. Right, round two. Let's start back from the right side. I'll flip it. I'm going to inhale my right leg up high. This time my left heel is all the way in the ground. Maybe it's closer. And as you exhale, step up. I'm going to come right up to my crescent. So I'm going to breathe in. And breathe out. Take a moment. Establish that nice long line if you can to the back leg. Strong lead leg. Now this time let's open up a little bit. So I'm going to open up into that warrior two. So I open the hips up, but I didn't go too far. So my front foot's perpendicular, my back foot's parallel, perpendicular to the mat that is. My right front knee is tracking towards the middle of the foot, even a little bit towards the pinky toe if you can, to open the hip, but try to keep that left hip square to the side of your mat. All right, there's a lot there. You're feeling that in there. And you're breathing here. Into the belly. Out to the belly. Breathing in. Breathing out. And then let's come into a gentle side angle this first time around. So I'm going to press a little bit into it. I got my elbow bending 90 degrees. And then I reach up. Excuse me. Strong lead leg pressing down and breathing into the belly, breathing out. And then let's slowly come up a moment, a little reverse, reaching up to the side, I'm opening the right side there, that front side there, breathing in. And from here, I'm going to do a slow windmill down. And can we pause again down that low runner's lunge? And can we twist? I'll forget the external rotation. I'm just going to do a twist. And I'm going to finish this, yogis, the side with a step back and a side plank. So I step back and I plank it the other way. So now I get that little external rotation. And remember that right knee, that lower leg, the knee can come down for support. Or if you want to work a little bit harder, you engage that right side of the body. And you raise up your outside your leg. That's my left leg. You raise it up and maybe even crunch. We're going to try that crunch elbow to knee just for 3. Lap for 8 in the morning. 2. 1. All right, you come back. Take a moment. And if you want to skip a chaturanga, you skip it. Or if everything feels okay, you add it in. Take a breath. We come to our left side. We inhale left leg up. We exhale it through. Start with your crescent. You come up into your crescent. You breathe. You inhale, nice big breath. And as you exhale, you open to warrior 2. Take a moment, adjust it. You don't have to go too low with that, right? You stay a little higher, it can be a little bit more accessible. And you can be a little more, you can pay a little more attention to your details because you're not straining, struggling so much. So find the right space there. Left knee, tracking down the middle of the foot, maybe a little bit to the outside. Hips, as best you can, square to the side of the mat. Finding the breath. If you're a little winded like me, just take a moment. Now, how about a gentle side angle? So I'm going to bend that elbow. I'm going to rest it or gently press it into my left thigh to open it. Then I'm going to reach up. So I'm open that right side of my body up. Open right through the ribs. Breathing in. Breathing out. Then for the reverse, I come up and I reach up. I open the left side. I breathe into my belly. And I breathe out. And then I'm going to windmill down into that little lunge, into a twist. Pulling the belly in, reaching up. And then when you're ready, you release it. You finish that side with that side plank. So the leg goes, the lead leg comes back. You return to the outside. You open up. Remember your left leg, if that's your lower leg, the knee can come down to the ground, or your right leg can float up. Ooh. And then if you want to, maybe crunch up with me for 3. That just adds a little challenge to that movement. That left shoulder's got to do a lot of work to stabilize you and balance you. And then you come back. And from here, it'll give you drop. And you breathe in. And as you breathe out, now right side, warrior 1. So I'm going to inhale my right leg up. And as I exhale, I step up between my hands. Now for my warrior 1, I bring my back leg in a bit. I'm going to shift it. And then I come up. So my back leg stays straight. My front knee is bending a bit, getting my balance. Some of you are already there. I'll join you. Arms are up and you're breathing in. And you don't have to go too low with this. If you go too low too quickly, you start to feel in your low back, maybe it might not feel quite right. So I don't want to feel pressure. I want to feel, if anything, I want to get a little bit into the inside of the left hip. I want my left glute to be engaged, my left leg to be nice and grounding. Breathing in, yogis. Breathing out. Beautiful. And now from this warrior 1, I'm going to breathe in and I'm going to open up a moment, all right? I'm going to open up, face you, open these hips. We're back to that little plie stance, but we're a little bit wider this time. And this time I'm going to drop it a bit low and I'm going to lift the heels up. And I'm just going to hold it right there and do a little work without any movement at all. The hips are getting a lot of opening, so I don't want to start bouncing around too much. I'm going to fire the glutes though. Maybe you can go a little lower if you want to. You don't have to overdo it. And I'm going to try to do that little with that little mind game where I start to draw, mind and muscle game really. It's the mind focusing the muscles, and we're just imagining that we're like trying to pull the legs together, so it starts to fire different things up. Because nothing really moves, but in the inside, you just breathe, and you breathe out. Just a little bit of isometric strength work. Breathe in, and a little bit of stretching in here too. You breathe in, and you breathe out. Ooh, and then you come up. Ooh, and you release that. And I'm just going to pivot you to your warrior one with your left leg leading you now. So take a moment, make adjustments. Try to get your right leg, your back leg nice and straight. Even work the side of the foot so it's nice and grounded. You're squaring the hips up more so towards the front, maybe a little open. If you want to get your right knee and right hip to be in one line. And you breathe in. Now work that front leg a bit, that left leg. And you breathe out. You breathe in. And you breathe out. And then as you breathe in, let's come back to the middle there again. And this time, let's come into a wide-legged stretch. Wide-legged hamstring stretch. So I'm doing a little external or internal rotation of the hips so the heels come out. And this time, I'm going to see if I can go a little lower from when we began. And some of you can even reach out and grab the edges of your foot. So take some time here to breathe, all right? Hamstrings a lot more ready for a nice stretch here. If you want to go deeper, you're engaging your quads a bit. You're grabbing the edges of the feet and you're drawing the crown of your head down towards the ground. And you're breathing into your belly. You're breathing out. You're breathing into the belly. You're breathing out. And as you breathe in, you come up. And as you breathe out, let's turn and step it up. Ooh, and then let's flow. We'll breathe in. And we'll breathe out. Come down. We'll inhale, half flat back. And as we exhale, we plant the hands, step back to the plank, lower. We breathe in, sweep up. And as you breathe out, you step back. Back to the crescent. I'm going to inhale, right leg up. I'm going to exhale through. You come up to crescent, yogis. And now from here, I'm going to play a little bit with the balance. Okay, so I'm going to play a little with the warrior three. So I'm going to adjust. I'm going to really challenge my balance and my strength. I'm going to come forward and I'm going to start to slowly shift the weight from that lead leg and then slowly float that left leg up. And I'm going to modify my warrior three. I'm going to keep my hands right into my heart. Try to level that left hip off so the hips are square to the ground. I want to feel that nice. I want to feel my right hamstring feels really, I really feel it. It's active here. It's warmed up. It's ready. My right glutes are firing. And I'm breathing. Beautiful breaths. And now slowly I'm going to come to standing. Ooh, I'm going to come into a nice balancing pose. And for the left hamstring, I'm going to lift that leg. I'm going to extend that leg out. Peace fingers are going to grab the big toes. Some of us, all right? Some of us, we just stay like this. I'll face you. And some of you yogis, if the balance is ready, you kick that leg out. You can keep that knee a little bending, all right? If you can, you straighten that leg out. And you breathe. Ooh, tough balance. You breathe out. Breathe in. Ooh, and breathe out. And then to finish this side, I'm going to finish with a pyramid. So I'm going to let my left leg swing down just a bit. Not so much as a warrior one now. Squaring the hips up nicely. And this is a stretch for the right hamstring. I come down. Some of you can find the reverse prayer behind you. Some of us, we just let the arms dangle. So keeping both legs straight. Keeping that right foot, that lead foot very active. And taking your time. Try to draw your right hip back just a bit so you can get deeper in that right hamstring. Big stretch to that hamstring. If you can, if you want to go lower, you kind of vacuum your belly in just a bit. Right, the low belly, that can help you get a little longer and you can drop the head. Big stretch to the hamstring. Breathe. Stay connected to that ground, that right foot. Now let's slowly release that. Come on up. And you breathe in wherever you are. And as you exhale, let's flow to the side. All right, bring the hands back. Lower it down. When you inhale, you sweep it up. And when you exhale, you roll it back. Left side, start with the crescent. We inhale it up high. We exhale, throw. You come up to that crescent pose. And we're going to start with that warrior three. So remember now, bring the hands down. I'm going to try not to just shoot myself forward and up. I'm going to go slow. Makes it a lot more challenging. I'm going to shift the weight. I'm going to drag my toes across the mat and then slowly straighten that supporting leg and lift, float that back leg up. Try to level the hips. Now remember, hands can be at the heart to modify. Some of you do your full warrior threes. You reach out as that right leg reaches back. Beautiful. Wherever you are, yogis, find your breath, find your balance. I'm just looking down to the floor, finding one spot, and I'm breathing in. I can feel that in my left hamstring, my left glute, breathing out. Breathing in. Ooh, and then I'm going to slowly come up. If you need a moment to collect yourself, step down for a moment. We're going to bring the right leg up. I should have showed you the modification the first time, but you could just lift up and hold it on your knee. Hold your hand on your knee and just find the balance. Or if you want to, I'm reaching down, I'm grabbing peace fingers, the big toe, and I'm reestablishing the long spine. If I curved, getting that spine nice and long. And then I extend the leg out. Maybe you can go all the way out without me bending over too much. And I'm breathing into that belly, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. All right, and I'm going to release it. I'm going to step that right foot back, not too far. My pyramid stretch. Heels in one line. If you're out of breath, take a moment. If you want to open the shoulders, hands come back. Some of you can reverse prayer. Some of us grab our elbows. And you breathe in when you're ready. And as you breathe out, you get a nice stretch. All right. Take your time. Try to do that little shift. Try to draw your left hip back just a bit. Draws your right hip forward so you're squaring it nicely. That lead leg, there might be a micro bend in your front leg there, my left leg. And the knee, you might have to bend it just a bit, but see what you can do. Try to keep that front foot very active. And then if you want to go deeper, you vacuum in a bit at your low belly. Drop the head. Maybe the hands come to the ground for support. And you breathe, yogis. And then I'm going to slowly come back up. I bend my knee a bit as I come up. I inhale, arms come up. And as I exhale, I'm going to flow back down. Plant those hands, step it back, lower it down. When I inhale, I sweep it up. And as I exhale, I roll it back to the down dog. Take a moment here. From here, yogis, I'm going to bring us back down to the ground, okay? So I'm going to slowly bring my knees down. And I'm going to come down, and I'm going to come into my seated position. I'm going to shift that camera. I'm going to finish us where we began. And I'm going to come into Dandasana, or staff pose. So I'm going to come right back into legs out, right? And this time, none of that leaning back stuff. If you can, keep it up. So I'm going to go sideways. So I've got a nice long spine here. I've got to be a little bit active in my core, my quads. I'm going to flex my feet. My legs are nice and flush to the ground. And I'm just breathing here. Clean that breath. Settle back. If it was a little bit winded there. And if you want to just stay here a few breaths, stay. If you want to fold those hamstrings one more time, you can breathe in. And as you fold, try not to curve right away. I'm reaching out with my heart. I'm reaching out. And when I start to curve, I pause and I drop the hands. And then I can maybe grab shins. Maybe I can grab peace fingers to big toe. So I can work it. Those hamstrings. Some of you want to just relax and maybe curve down a little bit. Be gentle. Be mindful, right, of your low back. Keep your belly a little bit engaged. If you start to do that, you can draw the shoulder blades out a bit and you breathe. And I'm going to come up and I'm going to finish with a gentle twist. So I'm going to bring my right leg in. Sage pose. I inhale the leg. And as I exhale, a gentle twist. I'm going to switch sides. My sage pose. I inhale the length. And I exhale, gentle twist. I come back to center yogis. I finish with cross-legged. I finish in my meditative pose. Maybe you finish here. Maybe you finish with Shavasana. Maybe you finish however you like. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, yogis. Have a wonderful morning. It's a little bit snowy out right now for me. So enjoy your day, regardless of how the weather is. Enjoy the inside, regardless of how the outside is. Let's say that. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and namaste.